Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angel. Today we're going to be doing some ornament DIYs and hacks. This week we're going to be doing my larger tree decorations, and then next week I will show you a bunch of ornaments that I made for my feather tree. Starting out with this first ornament DIY, this is actually really a hack. I know that a lot of you have probably seen people make the amber glass ornaments using some alcohol ink, but those alcohol inks can be really expensive. So I grabbed some food coloring that you can get at any grocery store, some red and some green. If you can find brown, that's even better. And then I mixed up that red and green to make brown and added just a little bit of Mod Podge in a little squirt bottle from Dollar Tree. I did a lot of experimenting with this little hack, and you definitely don't want to use a lot of Mod Podge to get that clear looking amber glass. So just experiment with it. You can mix the green a little more, mix the red a little more, and get different variations of this brown color. But you'll definitely want to keep this kind of runny and watery as you do this. Just pour it into your clear baubles and then mix it around until it is fully covered. Then you can just pour the excess into the next one and keep going with it. Like I said, if you want to, you can definitely change up the color by adding a little more red or a little more green. I ended up doing a few brown ones and then a few that were more green. But once you are finished with this, you can pour this back into your little container that you're using and just continue to use that excess to make a whole bunch of these, and it's very inexpensive. And if you prefer brighter colors, you can just do the red, green, blue, yellow that most food coloring packages come in. Just try out any variation that you would prefer, and then once you're done with these, just turn them upside down on a piece of cardboard and let them dry. I wanted to make some Victorian silhouette frame ornaments, so I did end up picking up a couple little frames from my thrift store, but they really didn't have a lot of the size that I wanted. So I did make a couple frames just using some Amazon molds and my air dry clay. Once that clay had dried overnight, I went in with my rub and buff and went over all four of my frames just to give them a cohesive look. Then for the silhouette inserts, I'm actually going to use some scrapbook paper that is script paper and this pretty little embossing folder that has a nice little vine floral design on it. I think a lot of people think that you have to have the little machine that's quite expensive to use embossing folders, but embossing folders themselves are very inexpensive and you can use these without the machine just by spraying the inside of the folder with some water, laying your paper down, spraying your paper really well, and then pressing the folder into the paper using a rolling pin or even a glass jar if that's what you have on hand. Just go over this for a minute or two and it's going to leave that beautiful design in your paper. And I'll have the exact embossing folder that I'm using down in the description box in my Amazon storefront. But once I finished with those, I set them aside to dry while I started working on the actual silhouettes. I have a page of silhouettes that I made in Photoshop on my blog, which I will link below, but I just copied these from my computer. You could just print them off if you wanted to, but I cut them out so that I could trace them onto this velvet adhesive paper. And once I had them all traced out, I just cut these out of that paper. Once my pages were dry, I just grabbed those frames and used those to kind of determine how much I needed to cut off of the scrapbook paper. Then to make these pages a little more substantial and sturdy, I'm using some chipboard and a glue stick and just gluing these pages to that chipboard, and then I'll cut all of these out again. Then I'll just add all my pages to my frames. For the clay ones, I'm actually just gonna glue those with some gel super glue to the back of those frames. And once they were in the frames, then I was able to add those velvet silhouettes and really line them up to be nice and even. Then to finish these off, I needed a way to hang them, so I poked a little hole through the top of these and added little eye hooks with some gel super glue and then some ribbon. Another ornament hack that you've probably seen are the DIY flocked or velvet ornaments using flocking powder. Now, I did buy some flocking powder and I will show you what I did with that later. But if you are uninterested in making a huge mess and really want to do these quickly, grab some Dollar Tree sparkly ornaments and then give these a couple coats of whatever color paint you want. And this really gives the look of flocked ornaments without the mess. I do recommend using a flat or matte paint for this hack so that you can really get that nice velvety look on these ornaments. And you could also try this on other sparkly ornaments from Dollar Tree. If you would prefer to do the other flocked look, you can buy these little baggies of flocking off of Etsy. I'll make sure I put the link below for you where I got mine, but I did grab a few different colors, and you'll just need to start out by painting your ornament a similar color to whatever the flocking color is. Then I found this easiest to work with by pouring it into a little cup that's kind of bendable. And then for this flocking, you will definitely want to give your ornament a heavy coating of Mod Podge, and you'll want to kind of do this quickly so the Mod Podge doesn't dry before you can get the flocking on. Once I had my ornament covered, then I'm just going to take that cup and I'm going to sprinkle this flocking powder all over my ornament. Do it heavy because the first time I tried this, I just kind of sprinkled it just a little bit and it just did not work out very well. So you definitely want to coat this very heavily, and then once you have it all coated, you can kind of spin the ornament around and see if there are any spots that are missing the flocking, and just use your fingers to sprinkle more over those spots. And once you have everything covered, you can kind of tap it in with your fingers if it's not really sticking. Now, I will say that this method is quite messy, and even after the Mod Podge dries, it does shed quite a bit, so just be aware of that. For the ornaments I had left over from those packages from Dollar Tree, I decided to do this oil rubbed bronze hack that I saw on Pinterest. You add some Rub and Buff to a little plastic bag after painting your ornaments black or dark brown, and then you're just going to squeeze that Rub and Buff all over your little baggie, and then you can add your ornaments in and kind of rub them around. The great thing about this is you're going to get a different variation each time that you do this. You can add more Rub and Buff, or you can just keep using the same amount in your baggie to get different amounts of the gold on your ornaments. And then you'll just let these dry for about 24 hours before adding your caps and some ribbon. I've been seeing a lot of brass bell cluster ornaments this year that are extremely popular right now. So I just grabbed some Dollar Tree bells and I'm going to take my European gold rub and buff and a soft paintbrush and go over all of these little bells, then let them dry for 24 hours before starting to put my clusters together. Another great advantage to DIYing these bell clusters is you can put as many as you want together or make smaller amounts. You can also customize the colors that you want. You could add a little bit of brown or black to these to make them more rustic looking. But once my bells were all dry from the rub and buff, then I just used some Dollar Tree floral wire. I put 2 of those together, twisted it around to tighten it, and then I will take that and put it up through the bottom of a third bell up through the top and twist that on to the top of the bell to put these together. Once I had all of my bell clusters put together, then I just added some black velvet ribbon to the top of these. And that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these ornament DIYs and hacks. I'll see you next week for some feather tree decorations.